I was declared legally insane by my own husband, and 5 years later, I signed the papers that made me the owner of the hospital that locked me away.
Let that sink in.
The moment they erased me still plays in my head like a loop I cannot shut off. The room smelled sterile, cold, artificial. I sat across from a man in a white coat who never once looked at me like a human being. My husband, Daniel Whitmore, stood beside me, calm and composed, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder like he cared. He did not. He was positioning me. "Claire has been under severe emotional strain," Daniel said. His voice was smooth, controlled, the same tone he used when closing deals at Northvale Capital Partners. "She has developed persistent paranoia." Paranoia. The word hit me like a physical blow. "I am not paranoid," I said. My voice trembled, but I forced it steady. "I saw the accounts. I saw the transfers. You moved money into her name." Her. The lawyer. The woman who suddenly had access to everything I owned. "Doctor." Harold Keene wrote something down without reacting. "Delusional projection," he said calmly. My hands clenched.
You are not listening.
"He is stealing from me." Daniel sighed softly like I was embarrassing him. "This is exactly what I was concerned about," he said. "Not to me." "About me?" I felt something inside my chest crack. "You are talking about me like I am not even here," I said. "Doctor." Keene finally looked up and smiled. Not warm, not kind, clinical. "That level of detachment is common," he said. I laughed, and that was the moment I lost everything. Because the second I laughed, I saw it. The shift. Everything I did became evidence. "I want a lawyer," I said quickly. "I want a second opinion." The nurse stepped forward. "I am sorry," she said. The needle slid into my arm. Cold spread through my veins. Fast. "No."
Wait.
My legs failed. The room tilted. Daniel caught me before I hit the floor. For 1 second, I thought he might stop. He leaned closer instead. "You should have signed without asking questions," he whispered. My vision blurred. The last thing I saw was his face. Calm, relieved, then darkness. When I woke up, I did not have a name. "Patient 3021 is responsive." That was me. A number. The room was silent, controlled. A camera stared down from the corner. "Where am I?" I asked. "Silver Ridge Behavioral Center," the nurse replied. "I want my husband." "That is not possible." Of course it was not. Because if I spoke to him, the lie would break. I looked at the locked door, the reinforced glass, the silence. They did not just confine me. They rewrote me. If I said I was sane, they would call it denial. If I resisted, they would call it aggression. If I told the truth, they would call it insanity. So I stopped. Not because I lost, because I understood. If truth was the symptom, then survival meant becoming what they expected. I closed my eyes, and I started planning. If you were me, would you fight the system? Or would you learn how to own it? The system inside Silver Ridge Behavioral Center did not rely on force. It relied on repetition. Every day was identical. Lights at 6, medication at 7, evaluation at 8. Every hour controlled. At first I resisted. I do not belong here. Denial. My husband is lying. Paranoia. I will not take that. Non-compliant. Every response fed their diagnosis. It took me 5 days to understand something critical. There was no way to win by telling the truth. So I changed. The next time, doctor. Harold Keene sat across from me. I hesitated before speaking. "I'm not sure what is real anymore," I said quietly. His pen paused. That pause told me everything. When they asked about Daniel, I softened my tone. I think I misunderstood things. When they questioned my memory, I lowered my eyes. I just want to get better. That was what they wanted. Not truth. Submission. Each answer earned something. Less medication. More freedom. Access. And access was power. Within weeks, I was allowed into shared areas. I observed everything. The nurses. The doctors. The schedule. Who followed rules. Who cut corners. Systems are predictable. And predictability is weakness. One night, I saw what happened to those who resisted. They dragged a man down the hallway. He was screaming. "I'm not insane. You cannot do this." No one responded. They took him through a restricted door. The next day, he was gone. No record. No explanation. I asked about him carefully. "I thought I heard someone last night." Nurse Megan Cole smiled too quickly. "You must have imagined that." Imagined. I nodded. Maybe. That was when everything became clear. This place was not about healing. It was about control. If you resisted, you disappeared. So I stopped resisting completely. I became cooperative. Predictable. Harmless. And they trusted me. That was their first mistake. They gave me small tasks. Organizing files. Assisting with reports. Nothing important. Except everything was important. Because everything was access. That was how I discovered the truth. Financial records hidden in administrative files. Insurance payouts tied to long-term patients. Retention bonuses. The longer someone stayed, the more money they generated. My chest tightened as I read the numbers. We were not patients. We were assets, and someone was profiting from keeping us here. I did not react. I did not confront anyone. I adapted. Because now I understood something deeper. This was not just a hospital. It was a business. And businesses can be taken over. That thought changed everything. I stopped thinking about escape and started thinking about control. Because if I could understand the system, I could own it. By the second year, I was no longer seen as a risk. I was seen as progress. Patient 3021 shows strong recovery, doctor, Keene noted. Insight, stability, compliance, words that unlock doors. They trusted me with more responsibilities, documentation, observation, internal reports. I learned how diagnoses were constructed, how reality was rewritten, how a sentence could turn truth into illness. That was when I understood the real power. Control the narrative. Control everything. So I reshaped mine. Carefully. Slowly. I became reliable. Predictable. Invisible. And invisible people see everything. I gained access to deeper files, administrative systems, financial structures. Silver Ridge Behavioral Center was owned by Axiom Health Group. And Axiom was failing. Shell companies. Hidden investors. Insurance fraud buried under layers of legal language. It was complex. But not perfect. Nothing ever is. I memorized everything, because I knew I would not get a second chance. Nurse Megan became a key variable. She never asked directly, but she noticed. You are different, she said one night. How? I asked. You watch everything. She was right. I did not need her help. I just needed her to hesitate. A file left open. A terminal unlocked. That was enough. The plan formed slowly. This would not be an escape. It would be a takeover. If they erased my identity, I would build a new one. Outside, through Axiom's weakness, I sent information out, hidden inside approved reports, financial inconsistencies, legal vulnerabilities, an opportunity. Months passed, then years. Nothing changed on the surface. But underneath, pressure built. Axiom began collapsing. Audits, legal threats, funding issues. Then the announcement came. Ownership restructuring. Silver Ridge was being sold. I read the notice in silence. Inside, everything aligned, because I already knew who would buy it. The day I left, they believed they cured me. That was their final mistake. 2 weeks later, I returned. Not as patient 3021, as Claire Whitmore, owner. My heels echoed through the same hallway that once trapped me. Every step was controlled, earned. People stared. Some recognized me. Others did not. It did not matter. I walked into the boardroom, sat at the head of the table, and signed my name. Claire Whitmore, owner of Silver Ridge Behavioral Center. Silence. Doctor Harold Keene stared at me. That is not possible. I met his eyes. Neither was I. Everything unfolded exactly as planned. Financial fraud exposed. Authorities notified. Axiom Health Group collapsed under investigation. Doctor Keene was escorted out in handcuffs. Still talking. Still explaining. No one listened. Now he understood. Daniel arrived later. Angry. Desperate. You cannot do this, he said. I looked at him and felt nothing. It is already done. He demanded control. Claimed rights? I handed him a file. He opened it and went silent. Every asset, every account, gone. Transferred years ago. While he believed I was powerless, he thought he erased me. He never realized I was rewriting everything. From inside the system he trusted. In the end, this was never about revenge. It was about balance. They took my identity, so I took their system. They controlled my voice, so I controlled their narrative. They called me insane, so I showed them what control really looks like. Silver Ridge still exists, but it is no longer the same. Transparent, accountable, under my control. There is one room I never changed.
The room they locked me in.
Sometimes I stand there, in silence, not to remember the pain, but to remember the lesson. Power is quiet. It waits. It learns. They thought they ended my story. They were wrong. They gave me a better one. So let me ask you, if someone erased your life, would you try to take it back? Or would you build something so powerful they would wish you never returned?